What's going on, everybody? It's UAP Tuesday. It is the big thing. Thank you guys for joining us. Thank you to everybody who's been joining us on this show each and every Tuesday. I'm excited. Myself, Mark Riley, back to talk to you guys about what's going down. And as you saw in the headline, it's not good, guys. It's not good. We talked about it last week about the disclosure plan. We talked about how there is a bill that Chuck Schumer wants to put forward. And as you heard on Joe Rogan's show with David Grush, did a very long interview, which we'll talk about on this show. That was what the show was going to be about. And then something inside of that interview, Grush mentioned that there were a few senators that were trying to block the bill. And it looks like that's what's going to happen. It looks like this disclosure and the reasoning behind it, when you listen to the Rogan interview, is actually pretty fascinating with who some of these senators are being funded by. And it makes sense. You go, oh, well, that makes sense why they would want to block it. It's the same old stuff. It's the thing that makes me, for a couple of weeks, going, I don't think this is ever going to happen because you're always going to have these blocks. And I'm back there again, guys, because of what's going down. So there's just a lot. There's a lot. And we're going to go over a lot of the clips that Grush talked about. We're going to, we're going to go a lot of clips about the interview that Grush had with Rogan. We're going to do all that. And we're going to talk about this bill and what it could mean. And then there's a lot of people inside of the community that are really like, okay, fine. If we're going to have to disclose the hard way, they're going to have to disclose the hard way. And I don't know what the hell that means. All I know is that we're going to talk about it. Riley is fascinated with the Grush interview. He's been talking about it, and I can't wait to talk to him about it. So, brand new to this channel, you've never been here before. Look at that. That's a floating thing that says subscribe. Why? Because we'd like you to subscribe. Hit the button. We were almost at 100 and 7,000 already. We just hit 100 the other day, and we hope that you guys will get us to 200. This UAP audience, you guys, you have been so supportive, and because why? You want answers. We want answers. So hit that button. Be with us every Tuesday and watch the other silly shit we do over here. So, with that said, also Apple Podcasts and Spotify. But let's get to it. It's myself. It's Mark Riley. It's UAP Tuesday. It's the big thing. Let's do it. Welcome back, everybody, to the big thing. Thanks for joining us here today on the show, each and every Tuesday, where we talk about the need for disclosure, what the hell's going on. Myself, Kristian Harloff, joined, as always, by my partner in crime, Mark Yodius Riley. Riley, it's a crazy week. It's a crazy week because at one point you're like, because I saw somebody on that Rogan interview, right? They were like, there were some people who pay attention to it all the time were like, I watched it and I was a little bummed because there wasn't a lot of new stuff. And I said, yeah, but the way you got to be looking at it is the amount of exposure that what is going on now got to an audience of new people like yourself, like us, that are getting into this thing and talking about it and asking the questions to be asked. But I did think there was a lot of fascinating stuff that Grush talked about with Rogan, and one of those things is this bill that we'll get into in a second.
Yeah, and I'll say I know there was a lot of maybe old stuff or whatever, but it felt new to me, and I'll tell you why. Is because it was such an intimate conversation, more digestible. Maybe it was kind of like a story he's telling. He's just talking, and Rogan did a great interview. I thought, let him talk. He just talked and talked, and it's probably hearing it for the second time, third time, whatever it may be. Things were sinking in. This blew my mind. This whole thing blew my mind.
Yeah, there was a lot of it, and they had a back and forth, and I did see, and I think it's the right approach. Rogan was talking afterwards. He had him on, and it's like he didn't just say, "Oh, you hear everything that guy said? He's telling the truth." He's like he said what a lot of people said. He said it was the follow-up interview. I can't remember who he was talking to, but he said, "Yeah, look, I had him on, and I believe that what he's saying, and that he believes the people who told him these things. I believe that people actually told him these things, but it's also, the in my mind, I go to, are people telling him this also to kind of divert him and make him tell him this kind of crazy stuff to make him look?" And I don't believe any of what Rogan's saying there, but I understand the process behind saying it because look, we get it on this show every week. You guys just buying it hook, line, and sinker. It's like it's a matter of, to me, it's more so of not what one guy is saying. it's what various people are saying. And
Yeah.
it's the stuff with Gary Nolan, and it's the stuff with Lou Elizondo, it's the stuff with all these other people. And that to me just seems, I don't know, man. It's weird to me how many yeah.
Harry Reid, right?
Right.
Like the Speaker of the House.
Explain that a little bit.
So he, like, not only is Grush bringing up the names you just mentioned, but he is mentioning people in government. He is mentioning, he can say this now because Reid died, passed away.
Right.
Was that one of the highest ranking members in Senate went, yep, it's there. I believe it. I'm on the phone I'm trying to get on the phone with Biden every month, and he's like, it's out there. Go look. It's in his book. It's in these things. Why would all of these people say what we're hearing? Grush at one point during this interview also said, I never wanted to do this. It's ruined my life.
Right. Yeah. We actually
ruined my life.
I know. So this is
crazy to consider that, right?
Yeah. This is actually, we're going to play a few of the clips, and this is one of the clips where he is actually talking about how he started.
I guess we should start from the beginning.
Yeah.
So first of all, lay out to people what your job was with the military and how this all started for you.
Yeah. So I was an intel officer in the Air Force for 14 years, 7 active, 7 reserve. Then I kind of had like a parallel track in the civilian intel world when I became a reservist. And ultimately I got brought back in civil service in a government way at the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency a couple years ago at a senior level. So I was a major in the Air Force and a GS-15 at NGA, which is like a full bird colonel equivalent civilian employee. I'm very humbled that I was able to kind of get that kind of job. But my career mostly, I didn't even really think about this topic. UFOs were not on my radar. I wasn't really a believer. I was agnostic about it. Most of my career, I did a lot of behind the door special access program, technical type activities. I was kind of a space intelligence expert, a cyber intel expert. And like I said, this was not on my radar at all. I would joke with my buddies because I used to handle the presidential daily brief for the National Reconnaissance Office director in my military capacity as a reservist. And I was well clear to hundreds and hundreds of compartmented programs. And, the joke was like, when are we going to get the read on for the crazy shit? And that never happened. And I do remember the day that I really can remember that I was like, what's with this UFO stuff? I was briefing a senior person at the CIA into a couple hundred special access programs. So I was at the headquarters at the agency, and after the indoctrination I was giving to the senior person, this person who worked with Lou Elizondo previously was like, Dave, have you ever heard of this guy Lou Elizondo? He's running some UFO program at the Pentagon. We all think he's crazy. And I'm like, I don't know who this guy Lou Elizondo is, and I don't know of any kind of UFO program. So that sounds nuts to me. But lo and behold, and that was like early 2017. And lo and behold, in December 2017, that New York Times article came up with that named the ATIP program and the OSAP program. So Advanced Aerospace Weapons Systems Application Program, and the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program being the other acronym. And I was like, holy shit, wait, that's that guy Lou Elizondo that I heard about. You know what? I think I have heard of OSAP. When I was a lieutenant, I used to read these reports from the Defense Intelligence Agency on black holes and stuff. And I was like, that's like stupid. Why is the DIA looking into black holes, time warps? It just didn't make any sense to me back in like 08, 09 when I was a lieutenant. And all of a sudden I'm like, well, maybe there's something to this UFO thing. I'm not saying I was like a believer either way on the subject, but this was a topic of concern apparently for the Pentagon. And in 2018, I started doing kind of what I call my open source literature review. Like, let me spin myself up on this topic, watching Chris Mellon, Lou Elizondo, Leslie Kean, all these people talk about the subject. And then, just trying to understand, so what is this with UFOs? Has this been going on for a while? The answer is yes, like Foo Fighters sightings of weird stuff in antiquity, etc., which we can get into later. But
all right, so there's so much there in general, right?
Yeah.
Where you talk, he's getting into what he says about how he got into it. First of all, as you mentioned, Riley, he wasn't like he said or in the interview later on, he was always fascinated by science, but he went more so the government guy, and he went more so into being an intelligence officer and all these other things, and a
Right.
soldier. But he still never lost his fascination for it. And obviously that's there. And the means and want for the public to have the truth is another reason why he's done what he's done. But I got out of this portion of it, and we will kind of take these excerpts and kind of come back into it and give our thoughts on a lot of these different things. There's just so much of this interview in general. But what I get out of it, the thing he says about Lou Elizondo, right? And that people were referring to him as like the crazy guy in this, because you got to understand inside of it that most people inside of the government and all that don't know anything about this stuff. And it's clear to where they think that it's just this kind of taboo thing, especially before the big report of the New York Times came out, as he said. So to them, Lou was this crazy guy, right?
Yep.
And then Leslie Kean goes and breaks this story.
Mm-hmm.
And now it starts to switch, and his fascination starts to switch, and his curiosity rather starts to switch. But what I got inside of all that is the names that you keep hearing about over and over and over again, whether it's Harry Reid, Lou Elizondo, Leslie Kean, all these different names that continuously just keep popping up. And it's not a matter. I saw somebody on a comment the other day say, like, look, and they're right. These people aren't making hand over fist with the money that they're making from books and all these other things. And sure, when it comes to appearances now UAPs and are kind of a hot topic, look at people. There are people that are on old science fiction television shows from 40 years ago that are still making money from that show. So I can understand people going, oh, well, this is a hot topic right now and they're making money of it at conventions. Sure. But is it enough to ruin your career? Is it worth it to sign a couple of autographs at a convention to make it look like, you know what I mean? So it's like, I still don't understand the reasoning behind that.
I don't either. It's, and Grush too, going through, he says it all in this. I mean, going through the, ruining of his career,
right.
And also being threatened.
Yeah.
His wife and him threatened, to where it's like, no, they just made a point to show I can get to you.
Right.
That's fucking scary.
Yeah, there's a lot of that. I mean, there was a lot of that for sure.
It's interesting. And then the names that keep reappearing. Why would they do? I constantly say, why would you go out and do this, ruining your career? Because he brings up numerous examples of people and 4-star generals, everybody under the sun, saying, I don't want to say what I saw, because then I got to go through the mental test again. I don't want to lose my my ability to go up, whether fly or be a part of like the key turners he was talking about, these high clearance people that are, the stigma of it is, well, if I say this, then I get this.
Right.
And that is something they don't want to happen. I find it fascinating that we're still there. I think that it's hard to wrap your head around.
Yeah.
It's hard to accept. I watched my wife, literally, we were driving across the desert in Nevada. I saw many aliens. They weren't real. They were the fake ones that they're advertising the jerky. Nonetheless,
right.
We were driving across, and I wanted to listen to this thing. I said, babe, let's listen. I'm fascinated to see what you think.
Yeah.
And it starts, these stories are coming out, and I love my wife. She just checked out.
Dude, there's so many people
that checked out.
So many people still that are not paying attention to it, that it's if you're not diving into this in general. My wife did the same thing. I was watching and she's like, oh, this guy again. And I'm like, you haven't heard a single thing that this guy has said.
Right.
And it's gonna be one of the most important individuals of all time, with the things that are being said that he's claiming, and just his conviction in a lot of the stuff that he's talking about. And they said something though inside of that interview that I thought was so fascinating, and I think Rogan was actually the one who brought it up, that I agree with him on this, is that one of the main reasons with this disclosure stuff, and one of the, you can understand why the government, it's not just the fear of people getting scared that there's other life or religion or challenging that. It's
Yeah.
But the amount of lawsuits and the amount of people that could go to jail and stuff
Yeah.
for holding back particular information or things that were done illegally through holding funds and all these things, like that's what they both had suggested is one of the main reasons for potential holding back of this or the cover up. I agree. I think that for a lot of people have been talking about, like, it's because they don't think the American public can handle it. I don't think they give a shit about the American public as much as they could say that that's the case. It's because if they did a big paper trail, that a lot of people would get in trouble in the same way that, like, whatever you think about, like, the Kennedy assassination, right? If they did, like, let's say you did a deep dive on it, and let's say, just for the point of this argument, that it turns out that there were a lot of other people involved, and they found out it's people like, well, why wouldn't they open the books now? Tim Burchett says it all the time. Why don't they open the books now? Because what if there's a trail that leads back to a particular organization that's still active today that could be shut down?
And you bring up JFK, go start listening to the Rob Reiner documentary right now, a podcast that he's been on this. There's something else going on with Kennedy. Another podcast for another time, though. But I see your point.
Yeah, it's just that. So it's like that was the point that I heard, and I went. There were two things that I left that interview going. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, and both points made me go, yeah, I don't know if this 10-year plan is going to be a no-year plan, meaning I mean, remember a couple of weeks ago when I said to you, I was way more pessimistic, and I said, I don't know, man. It just seems to me that they've been covering this thing up for so long. The powers that be are going to find any which way to cover it up, that doesn't matter how much momentum or whoever it might be, it just seems like it's going to get shut down. And then I started to kind of change my tune when these other people are going, oh yeah, within the next year, you're going to see this, you're going to see that, you're going to see this. And I'm like, okay. And I was starting to kind of drink the Kool-Aid, and then you start to hear this stuff now. And it's the stuff that what I just mentioned about how they're going to try to protect it at all costs. That's part one. Part two is the stuff that we'll get into, really kind of deep diving into this whole thing with this Schumer amendment, that when I started to hear Grush talk about the fact that there were other people who wanted the certain senators that were actively trying to block it, and then the reasoning why of who they were kind of supported by, and I went, uh-oh. And then I started to see more tweets from people inside the community going, it looks like they're going to block it. They're going to try to block it. No, it's the same old thing. And I started going, we ain't going to learn shit. It's like all the press conferences and you can have as many as you want, but like people are I can already see the comments. Don't lose hope. Don't lose hope. I ain't going to stop talking about it. I'm not going to stop asking questions because someone said this and I happen to agree with it. It's not a pat on the back. It's just the truth. What people like what we're doing, and there's a lot of other shows, we are, and we shouldn't be, but we are essentially the media inside of this, because we're the only ones, us and like maybe 15 to 20 other people, whether it's there's a lot of other bigger shows that are doing it. We just have a different point of view, but that are talking about this stuff every week. And we got to keep doing that in order to get some kind of fingers crossed on it. But dude, it's like, yeah, after I want to hear your take on it, and then after you're done, I want to play the clip of Grush talk. It's a longer clip, so I want to hear him talking about it with Rogan.
Yeah, the just in particular, to clarify, where were you? Which part? Because when we're talking about the Schumer deal or the amendment, whatever they're introducing, and he brings up who's trying to stop it.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Look, and he lists who are their donors.
Yeah, right.
Come on,
that's when
when it's fascinating. It's like Lockheed Martin. It's like a lot of aerospace.
It's the coming to America moment. Aha!
Yeah, exactly. And it is. They are trying to suppress it because they don't want to reveal their secrets
out there.
And there are people, and they even bring up the psychology. Grush brings up the psychology. Rogan talks about it. The fact that when people have secrets, it gives them a little something up here.
Yeah.
Little power trip, little something I have over you. Can you imagine the secret of, we will change worldview?
Yeah,
I'm
but
going to
again,
hold on to this.
I think it's, as I was talking about before, I think it's the fact that it's like you're just opening up the dam. You know, you like it's
Yeah.
like, and there's no way that they can protect themselves out, or they can protect themselves now by buying off people and telling them to vote stuff down. But
Yeah.
if it's blown open, you can't. So let's just play this clip here.
Yeah. And there's so much more to go into on
There's
this.
so
This
much.
is so crazy to consider.
We're gonna
Oh my
kind
God.
of back and forth. We're gonna start with the with this clip, and then we're gonna get into like the bill being kind of shot down. Hold on.
But these programs, we need a change. And that's why you saw the Schumer amendment, right? And I think you might have read that on air or something in a previous episode, if I remember correctly. You know, Chuck Schumer, and I knew about the amendment a couple months before I went public, and that's kind of another reason why I did what I did. I'm like, fuck, I'm like the only guy that kind of has the opportunity to do this. I know what's in the chute, so to speak, that Chuck Schumer and his staff had with the Schumer amendment, which is 67 pages of literal, we want to disclose. And I'm like, I have to spike the football by going public because, you know, I can read the tea leaves on the Hill, and I think that they were hesitant to do anything without being able to point to something publicly. And I'm like, oh, I'll be that fucking guy and just send it. And then, of course, a month after I went public, I guess I pushed Chuck Schumer over the ledge. And I do know he talked to the White House about the amendment too, because not like Chuck Schumer is going to propose groundbreaking legislation like that without talking to the National Security Advisor or president. Like, I imagine he did so. And, you know, so you have the 67-page amendments, right? It's called the UAP Disclosure Act of 2023, known as the Schumer Amendment. Co-sponsors were Young, Gillibrand, Rubio, Rounds, and Young. And, you know, kudos for those senators for stepping up to the plate, because they know this is real. I know what meetings that they've had with certain other individuals that are, you know, even more credible than myself. And so this act, which is like super important, is currently in conference as we speak in Capitol Hill. So the amendment is wrapped in something called the fiscal year 2024 National Defense Authorization Act. So that is the act that funds the military basically every year, right? So it's an amendment within this bill. And the act is really long, but the main meat of it is about halfway through the act. It talks about a presidential panel or agency, which is 9-person, and a controlled UAP disclosure plan that's 6 years in length, conceivably from 2024 to 2030. And this panel, and you can read this is public law. Anybody can read this. They want a scientist, economist, sociologist, etc. It's kind of like who you would want to help craft the plan for the president. And this whole bill was actually built off the JFK Records Act, which I know, like, they're like, well, they never released all the records. Well, we put some teeth in the bill, some eminent domain, some other stuff to, you know, kind of force the issue. Now, granted, the chief executive, the president, has the final say. The panel can't compel the executive to do it, but like, I hope the president does, and I support that. But so the Senate already passed it. They're chill with this. This is like, we're good to go. But there's pushback in the House right now that is, you know, pardon my language, fucking ridiculous. So they're saying, for one, it's duplicating the DoD Aero's office activities. They're doing good things. They're looking at UAP reports, trying to figure out what's balloons and air trash and what's weird stuff. And of course, they are doing an historical review to try to understand the U.S.'s history on this too. But the problem is with that agency, it's within the DoD and IC, not above. So you have an issue reaching into Department of Energy, other, you know, cabinet level agencies. So you need a presidential level panel that can declassify stuff, reach into other agencies, and tell, you know, certain secretaries, we're coming in, we want your stuff under presidential authority. So what's happening in the House, from what I'm told from people on the Hill that are working the issue right now, you have the chair of the House Intel Committee, Mike Turner, who's blocking this, from Ohio, Dayton, Ohio area, right, Pat? Weird.
Mm-hmm.
And
Wright Pat meaning Wright Patterson Air
yes,
Force.
yeah. And Mike Rogers, which I'm kind of surprised, from Alabama, who's the chair of the House Armed Services Committee. So I have a problem with Mike and Mike right now. So Mike Turner, now remember, I went to his committee in December of last year. He wasn't there, but his staff and lawyers were. And of course, he goes on Fox Business after the hearing, doesn't use my names like this whistleblower. He has no idea what he's talking about. I'm like, really? Tell me, Mike, have you ever been an intel officer or served in the military? Oh, wait, you've been the mayor of Dayton, Ohio. You were voted most corrupt person in Congress a couple years ago. And pull up his PAC donors. Who are his biggest donors? Lockheed, Raytheon, Boeing. Okay, so, and first of all, if you thought you needed more information or wanted to talk to me personally, why didn't you call me back?
So, I mean, like,
That's huge.
it's
I'm
all
sorry,
that.
that's big.
It's the thing that I listen to and I go, this dude, the second I was walking my dog when I heard that portion of the interview and I stopped.
Yeah.
And I went, this thing ain't gonna pass.
No, and
Ain't gonna pass.
I was
I'm like-
I was driving past a sign that said "Alien Jerky next exit," and
When
I
that-
went,
right?
and I went, God damn it!
It just, I mean, for all those reasons, right? Because it's just too much. It's like this, and George
It's
Knapp
weird.
said it. Well, George Knapp said at one point too. They're better. The cover-up people are better at their job, and this is what he said. His words were, "Then we're better than we are at ours." Like they've been doing it for a long time. They will find ways to make sure that the information doesn't get out. Like the question that people should be asking is, because they give you the cockamamie excuses, like he was just saying of why. Well, there's another portion of the DoD that's doing it, but as Grush said, yeah, but you get a higher level up that can do things that they can't. That will get the information out. Because if I legit thought that this is all nonsense, but the amount of crap that is paid for, that they spend money on, that they know they're wasting money on, as opposed to something where they go, look, this is, if I legit believe that this is just a sci-fi moment and people are like so excited that they're hoping aliens are out there, so they're making this a big thing, and I have the power to do it. I'm one of these guys that he's talking about. I go, look, fine. You know what? Let's vote on it. Let's vote on this thing. Show me.
Yeah.
Show me what you got. You got nothing. You got nothing. So I'm going to sign your little bill. Show me. Go bring me the ship. And you guys are going to look like a bunch of morons because we just signed it, and you're going to go break down. Okay, yeah, break down. We'll give you a disclosure plan. Go ahead. There's nothing out there, you morons. Go ahead and do it. Here it is. I'm signing your bill. Show me everything. Show me the ships. Show me all that stuff. And the fact that they're not doing that is the reason that everyone should be going, huh?
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah, and then follow the trail, right?
Trail,
The
it's like-
donors,
yeah,
and then they're holding on to it, trying to reverse engineer stuff.
right.
It's
Yeah.
just always leads to kind of that money, secrets, holding it
Secrets.
over. And
I asked you guys that are watching right now, because every week we have people who are skeptics and we welcome it. We see a lot of very positive people who are skeptics. My question is not, why don't you believe? My question is, why don't you think that they should sign it over? And don't give me the whole thing, well, they don't want to spend money. There's 2 wars going on. There's this. They spend money on everything.
and also it's not that much
but it's
when you consider
right.
the other things.
So don't give me the spending money nonsense, because the other thing is, it's also an 80-year plus, way more, but an 80-year issue of people going, what's going on? What's going on? What's falling out of the sky? Don't you think at that point, at 80 years, guys, if you're a skeptic, you just go, guys, sign the bill, show these idiots on Tuesday, these 2 morons in the hats, that this is nonsense.
Yeah.
Show them that it's nonsense. Because I see a lot of comments going, oh, you guys believe in aliens, you believe in this, you believe in UFOs, you believe. Fine. It's okay to say that. But don't we all agree, all of us, skeptics, everyone, that just sign the bill. Sign the bill and show them. Like, for us, I'm on the side of show us what you got there, because I think there's more shit. I think there's a lot of stuff. I think that all these people kind of, with these reports over the last course of 60, 70, 80 years, there's something there. And the people are going, no, 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 no. Sign it. Show us.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's it. That's it. Then
Yeah.
you can show the skeptics, you can show the believers, you can show the world. It's right there. Transparency is key. If there's nothing there, transparency, show us that there's nothing there. Fine.
So,
but when there's smoke, there's fire. And when there's donors that are like making sure these guys don't.
When he said that, and
that's when I just went, oh, you got to be kidding me.
And we're going to get into that. And as we do, the reason why we're able to keep doing this show every week is because we have wonderful sponsors that keep us going on the air every week. And I'm going to tell you about two of them right now. We'll be right back after the break. All right, guys, let's talk about AG1. You guys know I love AG1. If you've been listening to my show, you've heard me talk about them, and I've been drinking them for about 2 years now, and I love it. Never been a vitamins guy. I've told you that. I take it all one shot, AG1. I put it in a water bottle. I shake it up. I'm good to go. I recommend AG1 to my friends. I recommend AG1 to my family. Everybody. AG1 is a team of doctors and scientists. It is tested for 950 contaminants and NSF certified for sport. It is formulated based on the latest science and maintains high quality standards. You guys know they've been with us for a while because you guys know too. You've all been checking them out, and everybody who's been signing up to AG1 says the same thing. It's changed your energy. It's changed how you approach things in a day. You're smiling more. You're running around the place, and you're sleeping better. I know. AG1 is the supplement that I trust to provide the support my body needs daily, and that's why they've been a partner for so long. If you want to take ownership of your health, it starts with AG1. Try AG1 and you get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3, K2, and 5 free AG1 travel packs with your first purchase. Go to drinkag1.com/bigthing. drinkag1.com/bigthing. Check it out. This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. I know that the end of the year season gets tough for a lot of people, man. There's a lot going on for a lot of people. It is one of the toughest times of the year. A lot of people look forward to the holidays. Sometimes you might struggle with the seasonal blues. There's a lot I think about during the holidays, and it's tough. It is. This time of the year can be a lot. It's natural to feel some sadness or anxiety about it. I know I do. But adding something new and positive to your life can counteract some of those feelings. Therapy can be a bright spot amid all of the stress and the change. Something to look forward to, make you feel grounded, and give you the tools to manage everything going on. You guys have heard me talk about BetterHelp, and I mention it every single time. She's cool with me talking about it because BetterHelp helped her tremendously, and that's Roxy Stryer. There's someone in my family who has benefited very much so from BetterHelp and talking. So it really makes a change. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online. It's designed to be convenient, flexible, and it's suited to your schedule. You fill out a brief questionnaire, you get matched with a licensed therapist, and then you switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. Find your bright spot this season with BetterHelp. You visit BetterHelp.com/bigthing today, and you'll get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/bigthing. All right. Thank you to our friends both at BetterHelp and AG1. As I mentioned before, the reason why we're able to keep doing this show and doing this channel in general is because of our wonderful sponsors. And if you guys are able to have the means to, please check them out. And you can support us and you support yourself today. All right. All right, Riley. So as we talked about in that last clip, I want to just move quickly into this because as I did lead with it into the title in general, and I think that it is as much of a bummer as it is, it's important that we talk about this as kind of really the lead story here. And that is this block, the Schumer thing seems to be in trouble. All right, Mark, here it is. UAP Disclosure Act receives pushback from lawmakers on Capitol Hill as bipartisan fight for transparency continues. This is coming from the debrief. A bipartisan measure aiming to disclose U.S. government's records related to UFOs has come under fire from top politicians in Washington as advocates continue working against time to save the imperiled transparency effort, the debrief has learned. Earlier this year, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer united with Senator Mike Rounds to introduce a 64-page proposal to bring about the disclosure of official information on what the U.S. government now calls unidentified anomalous phenomenon, dubbed the Unidentified Anomalous Phenomenon Disclosure Act of 2023. The proposal was cut from the same mold of an earlier law in 92, which outlined the disclosure of records related to the JFK assassination in 1963. The act was introduced as part of the National Defense Authorization Act, an annual piece of legislation that authorizes funding for the U.S. Armed Forces and outlines the budget and operations for the Department of Defense in accordance with Article 1, Section 8 of the U.S. Constitution. Among the key components included in the legislation is a provision concerning eminent domain, where the U.S. government could effectively confiscate and appropriate any UAP technologies that are revealed to exist, as well as the creation of a Presidential Records Review Board similar to the one outlined in the 92 law. This is what Grush mentioned, as we just saw inside of that interview. In July, the Senate version of the bill, which included the legislation, was approved for an 86-11 vote, following a House vote that has approved this version by a 219-210 vote. After each version of the bill was passed, the two chambers entered a formal conference process to negotiate between the two versions of the bill. Now, this is where Grush was talking about inside of that last clip that we just played, why it's so important. However, late last week, it was learned that Representatives Mike Turner and Mike Rogers were ramping up efforts to eliminate or significantly change the wording in the UAP Disclosure Act during negotiations in the NDAA conference. The new developments, first reported by Libertarian Times last week, indicated that Turner, chair of the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence, and Rogers, chair of the House Armed Services Committee, had leveraged support from Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell and Speaker of the House Mike Johnson, a move which cast significant doubts over whether the UAP Disclosure Act would make its way to the final version of the NDAA signed into law by President Biden. So American Safe Aerospace says a source close to negotiations tell us that the NDAA conference is wrapping up. The outcome of the UAP Disclosure Act is uncertain, and key terms like Civilian Review Board are at risk. The time to contact Congress is now. Despite the grim forecast that emerged over the weekend, concerted efforts by a bipartisan coalition of advocates in recent days have resulted in a final push to leverage pressure against lawmakers to save the UAP Disclosure Act. The result has been a uniting of forces between players on opposite ends of the political spectrum who are now fighting for a common goal, ending decades of U.S. government stonewalling on the issue of UAP. All right, Riley. So yeah, that's where we stand now. If you go to the majority of UAP Twitter or any of the people who are inside of this community and the names of the names, if you will, of the people that we talk about on this show all the time, whether it's George Knapp or Jeremy Corbell or Lou Elizondo, like everybody's talking about this thing. Everybody's talking about how, and there's people I just saw this one particular thing. There's a tweet from Mike Turner was writing. He had a post about being part of the Boys and Girls Club of Dayton, to which his first reply is, "You, sir, are a traitor to the American people and to the people of Earth. You do realize what the history books are going to say about you, right? I don't know how anyone could put their family through the levels of shame and humiliation coming your way." And there's just a lot of that stuff coming out there because this, I do think that it does remind me of like being part of for people who are new to Mark and I and just learned about us through our UAP show. We're also part of another very passionate fan base inside of the movie TV geek space. And it does remind me of how passionate people will get about certain things or movies or TVs, and obviously very different when it comes to the significance of what this could mean for the world. But it's similar in a way where it's like, I don't think that people like Mike Turner realize how big and passionate this community and the quest for truth really is. Because you know what I mean? Because I think it's connected to that stigma of like when you're like, oh well, what's it gonna be? A couple loons coming after me? And it's not that anymore. It's not that anymore.
Right. They think maybe it's, somebody that's on, I want to believe, or it's out there, the end of the invasion of the body snatchers. You're next. There's only 3 of them. No. This is getting bigger and bigger, and it will continue to get bigger and bigger. And it'll probably get bigger after that Rogan interview because of his reach. I mean, there's got to be at least 3 or more people that listen to that Rogan interview and went, you know what? I believe now. And maybe not it's my wife. It might not be her. But yeah, you're absolutely right. And the bipartisan nature of this, when you see some of the co-sponsors, right off the bat, a Democrat and a Republican are working together to get this out there. Schumer and I forget the other name. But then you look at that. And then you look at this. Maybe that is as simple as what you're saying, Kristian, that, he's like, I'm going to go visit my kids at the Boys and Girls Club of America because and this guy comes in, whoever it may be, just, you were a traitor, blah, blah, blah. They maybe didn't even imagine that it would get a reaction.
Right.
So we'll see.
At least not into the way that it did. Right. And so, or the way it's going to. And it's just, there's just so many people that are now tweeting about this, talking about this. And one of the things that I wanted to bring up about this too, because now, look, what could happen if this gets shut down is that you're not going to have the government help. And even there is that, you'd mentioned too about, oh shit, what was it? Oh, the bipartisan stuff. And Grush said it. And the same thing, and Rogan was like, "Yeah, it's true." Like and we've been saying it on this show for weeks, and that's months. When are you going to see AOC and Matt Gaetz in the same room together, smiling and talking about one thing? And it was the most, everybody says, the most bipartisan thing you've ever seen, with the amount of people.
Yes,
and like that, and why wouldn't it be? Why wouldn't it be? Why shouldn't it be? It should be, from what the importance of what this could mean. Again, I'm asking the skeptics here. I'm asking the skeptic. If it comes down to, let's say, and I'm not telling you go, I don't believe any of this stuff, it's crazy, it's fine. But think about it on the other side for a second, that maybe you're wrong. Just saying, if you are, don't you agree that if it was legit, that it is the thing that can make people go, oh, maybe we should rethink the way we're living lives right here?
I'm telling you. Telling you. And that was a theme running through that interview. Bipartisanness, trying to, communicate with our fellow human beings that we are in a state right now that is not good. I mean, it is just absolutely, if you're a Democrat and you're a Republican right now, it seems like we just need to fight. We just need to fight. We're not going to get along. And that's what I don't like. I like the idea that transparency will open up some doors, some windows, whatever it be. We all start looking in on it, and we all start looking up and realizing that it's more, it's bigger. It's so much bigger. Can you imagine if, sure, Independence Day if something comes down and blows up the White House, we're all effed, right? We're going to have to work together no matter what. But I mean, we don't know what could these things be. Now, in the interview, there's some really fascinating things, that there's more than one species, there's more than anything like that. But what scared the shit out of me, and I'll say it with that punctuation on it, is that Russia, China, whoever also has these things,
right?
Also doing the reverse engineering. And that, shouldn't we be aware of that? Shouldn't we work together? I mean, Republican, Democrat, work together, because there might be threats to all of us here in the United States. If we're going to just go like this, okay, and it's just like, take care of our own, the United States, we got to look out for ourselves. Sure. I'm talking about humanity. We got to look out for humanity. What are those things? Let's get some transparency to find out what it may, and keep asking the questions. We don't know what it is. Great. Show it. We'll start asking questions together.
I want to share something, speaking of that, because as we mentioned it, like, you can go like there, if you just go to Twitter, or you go, especially Twitter, if you go and you look at this particular topic right now, this is all that the community is really talking about, rightfully so. But as I mentioned, Jeremy Corbell, I want to show two things one, I want to show his tweet because I'm interested in this because
Yeah.
like him and Knapp, obviously I mean the two of them were sitting right behind Grush. They were you watch the hearing and on the left you see Corbell, on the right you see Knapp. So they're in the know. Like when they
Yeah.
hear certain things and they've gotten information, they're in the know. This I got to ask you, is this really as I am very pessimistic now because I'm defeated. I'm defeated right now when I hear this because it's just, to me it's like same old. Seems like
Yeah.
the bad guys are going to win. But then I see this. Okay. So again, this is from Jeremy Corbell. You should listen to his show, Weaponized, by the way. And this is the tweet that he has out there. And he says, a massive political decision is about to be made on the UFO UAP transparency. Like I've said before, this is happening. The easy way or the hard way, you can take that to the bank. We must be tenacious to fight to shine light on the darkness and denial. This fight takes grit. All right, now here is this video that.
There are moments in our nation's history when we have come together. Moments when we cast aside our political differences to unite as Americans. That moment has come.
There's footage and records of objects in the skies that we don't know exactly what they are. We can't explain how they moved.
A moment to expose a hidden truth that flies in the face of our Constitution.
Well, I don't believe they're coming from foreign adversaries. If they were, why, that would suggest that they have a technology which is in a whole different sphere than anything we understand. And frankly, China and Russia just aren't there.
The truth that elements of the Pentagon have been illegally hiding a program from Congress and the executive branch.
Everyone, the entire American public, has been lied to for decades.
Yeah, there's a sophisticated disinformation campaign targeting the U.S. populace, which is extremely unethical and immoral.
An illegal Pentagon program run by unelected officials who hide its existence inside defense contractors to avoid congressional oversight. A program whose existence is a perversion of American democracy.
Mr. Grush, finally, do you believe that our government is in possession of UAPs?
Absolutely, based on interviewing over 40 witnesses over 4 years.
Today, Speaker Mike Johnson, Minority Leader Mitch McConnell, Congressman Mike Turner, and Mike Rogers are attempting to kill the UAP Disclosure Act, a 63-page bill written by Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer and Republican Senator Mike Rounds that would force the Pentagon to come clean with Congress, the executive branch, and the American people. A bill the Pentagon and defense contractors desperately want to defeat. Call your lawmakers today and demand the passage of the UAP Disclosure Act.
I mean, that was a pretty good video.
That's good.
Yeah,
That made me hopeful, and it also made me fucking pissed.
Pissed, right? Yeah, exactly.
Oh, just so pissed. Yeah, see Mitch McConnell go up there and all those people, the mics across the board. Mitch McConnell and mics coming together to kill it. Four people. And
clearly for a reason, right?
Why?
But because it's the same old, the same thing that's been
for decades now.
For forever.
Decades. And what Grush said in that ad it's completely true. It's been working because the disinformation, Rogan and Grush said it in the interview. You've been Sasquatched. You just put it into that category. Doesn't exist. You're crazy. I've been saying it on the show every freaking time. It's the same as wizards and dragons and you know, you just clump them in there as fiction. And it's just more than that.
It is so much more than that. And I hope that people who are passionate about this subject, like, do look at this stuff and do ask for transparency and do reach out to where you are, right? And say, listen, like, because it's like anything else. It's about the power of the people. But a lot of times you go, and you sit back and you kind of watch and go, well, they'll work it out up there and we'll probably get screwed. You know, it's just kind of how it is, right? But it's like, I just want to know, like, because Mitch McConnell doesn't care. He's just oh sure. What do we do? He's okay. I mean, he doesn't. Guy's
He doesn't care.
175 years old. You know,
Yeah,
it's like
he needs he needs to get out of there. He needs to retire.
He's older than the aliens, and he doesn't care. And then this other guy, the new speaker, is going to do anything to not get him thrown out. He's wait, who do I got to listen to?
Also, yeah. Also, a very religious man is what I understand about our new Speaker of the House.
Yeah, I know.
I put right there in that this is something that can disrupt that worldview.
Belief, sure.
And
Sure.
I'm very religious myself. And this stuff is an extension of that religion, because it's like, if God is working through us all and created the earth, I believe created the universe and created these beings, you know, why not try to get in contact with them? Why not try to understand what's going on and look beyond all of this? I'm sorry, the effing politics is just ridiculous. It makes me so angry.
It is. It's more, and it is politics, obviously, but it's also, I think it stems back. This is a fight that's been being fought at least for the last 70, 80 years.
Yeah.
The George Nassau, they know what they're doing. They know what they're doing. They know how to, this isn't their first rodeo. They know how to play the game. And so even though there's a lot, it's just like we talk about all the time, you just don't, you hear, we'll say our side of it, because we're on the side that we hope there's disclosure. For those people who don't want disclosure out there, you don't hear about them because they're trying to say, I don't know, we're not really here. Look over there. But behind closed doors, they're going, look, it's getting more real out there right now. And there's more people talking about it, and there's more ways for them to do it now. So we got to find new inventive ways to shut this shit down. Who do we know? We'll call Mike Johnson. Why? Because we got him. He's one of our guys. Call this guy. Why? Got him too. All right. Well, what about this? Yeah, we can lean on that guy. Do that. Of course they do that. That's what they've been doing for years. And so this is why, but this again goes back to my previous thing. Even if you think, no, you crazy idiots, you just this is just your conspiracy, blah, blah, blah. Again, if you're on that side of it, why not just say, shut these two morons up and show them there's nothing there. Show them.
Right.
Now I want to address what Jeremy Corbell said in that tweet in a second. As I said, I do want to tell you guys about our two more of our sponsors, and then we'll come back and we're going to get into the Corbell comments, because I want to get Riley's take on it, and then I want to play the News Nation interview about this topic before we go. But let me tell you about two more of our wonderful sponsors right now. Step into a world of nonstop action on DraftKings Casino. Play the classics, play blackjack, play roulette, slots, plus enjoy exclusive games that you can't find anywhere else. All you have to do is sign up, you select the offer, make the deposit, and start playing from a full suite of games. Download the DraftKings Casino app now and sign up with the promo code BIGTHING. New customers get a deposit match of up to $500 in casino credits when you deposit $5 or more. Only on DraftKings Casino with the promo code BIGTHING. If you have a gambling problem, please call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.1800gambler.net. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly, 21 and up. Visit the percent in Connecticut, Michigan, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, West Virginia only, void in Ontario. One per opt-in new customer, minimum $5 deposit, max match 500 in casino credits, which require one-time playthrough within 7 days. See terms at casino.draftkings.com/player's choice for eligibility, terms, and responsible gaming resources. Hey, Rocket Money. How much do you guys think that you're paying a month on subscriptions? Yeah, that's what I thought. Most people think they're $80, $82. Yeah, right. You're paying closer to around $200. And that is why I use Rocket Money. What is Rocket Money, Kristian? Thank you for asking. I'm going to tell you, me. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions. It monitors your spending, and it helps you lower your bills. And it's all in one place. It has over 5 million users and counting. Rocket Money has helped save its customers an average of $720 a year and $1 billion in total savings so far. Stop wasting money on things you don't use. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions and manage your money the easy way. Go to rocketmoney.com/thing. That's rocketmoney.com/thing. rocketmoney.com/thing. All right. Thank you to our friends at both Rocket Money and, of course, DraftKings Casino. As I mentioned, if you want to help out the show, you have the means to help out the show, please consider one of our wonderful sponsors. It helps out the show tremendously. All right. As we are now going to continuing on this particular topic, I'm going to reread that comment that was up there. And from Jeremy Corbell, a massive political decision is about to be made on UFO, UAP transparency. And like I've said before, this is happening the easy way or the hard way. You can take that to the bank. Now, what the hell does that mean? Honestly, like,
I don't know.
What does it mean? Like, so, because like I said, the both him, George Knapp, they're talking to everybody. These are two guys that were front and center to the hearings back in July. What does he mean by this is happening one way or another? Like, so leaks,
right?
Like what does that mean? Is that
aliens? I mean, I say, I feel like it's the populace is going to know, the human race is going to know one way or the other. It's either could be in disclosure, transparency, whatever this is, or it could be we are just advancing with so much technology. Sooner or later, we're going to have a very big shared experience of something. And it's going to happen no matter what.
Yeah, but that's different. That's different from what you're saying. What you're saying is, what the hell can anybody do if tomorrow a big ship lands in the middle of Chicago and says, "Hey, we're here. You can block as many bills as you want. It's over.
It's over." Right.
What can you do if Russia or China tomorrow decides that they want to disclose? What can you do? But that's not what I read from them. I read from like, look, there's a plan to go forward, whether you humps do this or not. We try to do it the nice way and get this disclosure bill and do it all, professional like, but you guys are making that harder. So guess what? It's happening whether or not you want it to happen or not. That's the way I read that tweet. The question is,
maybe more whistleblowers, maybe more, leaks, maybe, I don't know.
Well, whistleblowers to me just seems like, okay, then it gets blocked. Remember, don't forget, and a lot of people don't realize this, that first hearing that they had, they wanted to put them in like the little closet. They were going to put them in like the little room, and then they finally moved them into the big room, and they were able to get they were trying to push it off to the side. Yeah. Every time they try to do something through the government, through like the actual means, they get a skiff blocked, they get this blocked, everything gets blocked all the damn time, to where I go back to the 17th time I've said it in this show. Why? If you want to get this thing over and done with and you don't believe in it and you think it's a bunch of lunacy, then just go ahead. Let me see what do you got? Go ahead. Go ahead, little guy. But they don't do that. They try instead, you can't do this, you can't do that. Because why? Because you don't want it out there. You don't want it out there. And so the question is, though, if this happens all the time, I don't think that's what Corbell is referencing. I don't think that's because he's got, to me, he's like if you look at, again, if in the movie space, Boris Kitt is a very popular reporter, right?
Yeah.
When Boris Kitt reports something,
take it to the bank.
9 out of 10 times you take it to the bank. To me, Jeremy Corbell and George Knapp are the Boris Kitts of this thing, and they've got the inside track on it, and I wonder what the hell that means. Like, what does it mean? Like, what are they going to do? They're going to release footage. They're going to release footage that you can't deny. Like, that's different than trying to get another whistleblower, because the whistleblower can get pushed to the side.
That's true. I mean, and I even feel like footage could be pushed aside. I mean, we have people that see the Tic Tac footage and go, it's faked. You know, I mean, and that's the world we live in right now, that technology being what it is, we can get video that looks phenomenal and it's doctored, or video that's real and people say it's doctored. You know, that's the world we live in. Maybe God, I hope, you know, the rumors of the Jake, what is his name again? I always forget
Jake
that
Paul.
guy's.
I mean,
Jake Paul.
Aaron Paul.
Aaron Paul finding the, you know, taking video of the best footage they've ever had of something. Could that be it? I don't know.
But even that, dude, because like that was also and whatever the reports are that you believe, but like the other report of why he's not releasing it because he thinks it's a hoax. And I don't know how true that is or not, but
yeah,
I don't think Aaron Paul, who is now a WWE champion, is going to be looked upon as the guy that's going to break the story. Nothing against first of all, nothing against Aaron Paul's wrestling ability. I happen to think he's the best celebrity wrestler I've ever seen. Dude, say what you want about the guy, and this is a different topic into another. He picked up wrestling like you know, someone who's trying to ride a bike, and it's like, it took you like 2 months to 2-3 months to do it, and now you know how to do it. It's like it's crazy. So like by no means making fun of wrestling or anything there too, but I am saying I don't think he's going to be the guy. It's going to be some kind of footage, whether it's what Lou Elizondo has, whether it's all these other things that people have. I don't know what it means. I actually tried to reach out to, after we had Tech Peter on, I said, you should reach out to Jeremy and George Knapp's promoting a new book. You should try to get him on. I tried. I reached out to Jeremy Corbell. I got no response, and I understand these guys. They're trying to do a bunch of different things right now, and especially, you know, tweets like that. Like, what the hell are they planning? Les Resistance.
I don't know. I don't know.
What does that mean? What do you think it means?
I really don't. I don't know if they have. What could they have? Okay,
I don't know.
Do they have an alien? Did they bring him out finally? You know? No, it's you know, homeboy walking right, you know, just kind of walks out with him.
It's bleep blop again. He's like, he's like, look, I don't want to do this.
Yeah,
I'm here, guys. I've been here for about 73 years.
I don't know what it could take. I mean,
I don't know.
There is so much. I mean, there are so many. I mean, Gresh starts off with a story of a general having his own, where it melts the paint on his car.
Right?
Because the triangular thing was flying over him, and he didn't report it for years because
didn't want to be.
Yeah, that's like, who are you going to believe? And you know, the legitimacy of these, how you know, you have these people that are way up there going, no, I'm not going to say anything until
yeah. I don't know.
What could it be? One of those witnesses? Could it be? I don't know.
Speaking of people inside of the community and stuff too, have you seen anything from James Fox at all?
I have not. I've been checking too.
Yeah, I haven't seen
ever since that day.
Like he's been quiet.
Yeah, and I wonder. I mean, this. The more I look into this stuff, the more I listen to. And again, you've been addressing skepticism directly. I mean, I have been a skeptic for many years myself. This is like, if you listen to the people that they're interviewing, or the names, or the people involved, how credible they are. It's just, I just don't see how you can just toss it away completely.
I know.
You know, keep your skepticism fully intact. You have to
ask questions. You have to ask questions.
Ask questions. Exactly.
Ask questions. I mean, I think that's important, but I also think you have to also pay attention to the fact that there's when something stinks, whether you are on the side of, you know, belief or not, you should say, well, why are they doing that? Like, if you look at, like, I'm asking the people here who normally come in, and there'll be a ton of people who come in who just find it, that are just going to, and you're about to write a comment, or you did already, are just going, hey, you guys, you're sure it's alien, blah, blah, blah. Instead of doing that, I want to get the answer to you. Like, don't you just think that they should show people if just shut us up? Like,
Mhm.
or put a disclosure thing out there. Just say, like, what do you got?
Mhm.
And I want to go into this report. News Nation, who were the first people to have David Grush and they had Ross Coulthart on there, and he's also been obviously in the heart of this thing too. Here's an interview. Here's a more of their report on everything going on with this blocking of the Disclosure Act. All right, here's the report from News Nation. We'll watch this little segment and then we'll talk about it.
Okay.
A group of senators are trying to change the federal law to require the government to make records on UFOs public. But some whistleblowers, like David Grush and investigative journalist Ross Coulthart, say this bipartisan effort is under attack. Earlier tonight, I spoke with Ross about this, and here's what he told me. Well, Ross, you've heard a few Republican members of Congress, including Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell, are trying to defeat this effort to make UAP documents available to the public. Can you explain what you've heard?
Okay, so this proposed Schumer amendment to the National Defense Authorization Act would impose two things in the main. The first is eminent domain, confiscation. It would essentially confiscate for the US taxpayers, for the US government, it would confiscate any UAP technology. Let's assume that what David Grush is saying is true and that there is a flying saucer hidden in a basement somewhere. It would allow that technology to be appropriated by the US government for the best interests of the US people. I would have thought that was an unarguably good idea. The second thing it would do is create a presidential records review board, modeled very much on the JFK records review board. And it would work on a presumption, like the JFK Records Review Board, of disclosure. It would presume that these records should be disclosed unless there's a very good reason for doing so. And there was going to be, if this legislation was passed, it was going to be created in early January next year, and there would be a report to the president recommending disclosure of just what it is that the US government knows about UAPs, any UAP technology, or any non-human biologics, beings, sentient beings recovered by the US. Preposterous as that may sound, it was the definitive opportunity for the US people to finally get the truth. And guess what? On the holiday weekend, 3 Republican key political leaders have colluded, presumably at the behest of the defense aerospace industry and the intelligence community, to try to stop this key piece of legislation from being passed as part of the National Defense Authorization Act. And if it does, I'm sorry, but it's going to set back the process of disclosure some considerable time.
Well, both Republicans and Democrats have lobbied for UAP transparency. So this doesn't appear to be a partisan issue. What motive do you believe these lawmakers have to not want UAP transparency?
Look, I wonder whether it's perhaps bad blood, because some of the people who've advocated for UAP transparency on the Republican side, people like Tennessee Congressman Tim Burchett, Florida Senator Matt Gaetz, they've basically obviously stuck their necks out and toppled Speaker McCarthy in the recent rolling of the Speaker. I wonder if it's bad blood inside the Congress and whether this is a Republican get square. I can tell you there are good people on the Republican side, notably Senator Marco Rubio, who's really stuck his neck out in support of UAP transparency and said that there are things that we can't explain in our skies, in the orbit and underwater, that do require investigation. And quite laudably, he's led an effort as a bipartisan move with Democrat politicians to basically support transparency. But now we see quite an obvious and frankly quite appalling effort by some key Republican politicians to seemingly bow to the behest of the defense aerospace industry and to essentially try to cover up what David Grush and others are determined to reveal.
I mean, it's there you go. And so, it's an interesting point that he makes about the payback aspect, right? With the Republicans, with how with the McCarthy thing that happened. The only thing with that is that the new speaker is one of the ones who's blocking, and you wouldn't he's not going to have that beef because he's going to like I got my job because of that. But
Well, he has other things he's got to worry about. I mean, they're
Right.
keeping they're trying to keep the government open, and McCarthy voted it through in a bipartisan way to keep the government going. And
Right.
some of the people that want to, say F you to that got rid of them. And now they're like, okay, Johnson just did it, right? Just voted to keep the government going, introduced it, and all the political pundits are like, well, that's his one. It's coming up again. Another vote is coming up to keep the government open. And we're going to see what, some of the more MAGA constituents there who are kind of putting the feet to the flame of other Republicans to try to keep this going. We'll see what happens. Then you have the UAPs.
Well, yeah, I know, but what I mean is the fact that but Johnson's got he's probably just being pressured, you assume, by like the Mitch McConnell and that side of it too, because like you would assume that because one of the reasons he has his job is because of Burchett. So I don't know if the angle with him, for what Colhart says there, necessarily plays, but the other ones maybe so. I don't know with McConnell and
something really interesting in there that really gave me the the appropriation of, let's say, Grush had there's a UAP in the basement somewhere,
right?
This passes, the disclosure is out there, then they would appropriate that to study it for the good of the American people.
Right.
That, to me, that reads as we're going to take that. Right?
Yeah.
They don't want that.
No, of course not. Of course.
God, no.
That's I thought that would be his first answer when she's like, why are they trying to block this? Because they're being funded by these same types of people who are going, no. Because it's pretty much the people like us that can go, hey, we want to see that stuff. And then if that act passes through, they're going to go, okay, we're going to try to get this stuff to figure out so everybody can know what the hell it is. And of course they don't want to. There's, besides just UAP stuff, there's tons of stuff we don't know about, man. And like, there's tons of stuff that we don't know about that we'll never know about, that you won't even that we probably do want disclosure on, but we don't even know it exists.
Yeah, like Rogan put on his tinfoil hat at one point in the interview and asked Grush about, was it true about the fiber optics were introduced for internet from the aliens? And like Grush is like, I'm not going into what we've learned or what we've we can, but that, let's say, for instance, that is true. Our internet is because of aliens in the sky.
Right.
How many rich people out there are there from that?
From that, who got
from that?
It's like inside trading,
right?
Yeah.
So that we're talking now, alien technology, whatever it may be, whether it's a weapon, whether it's inner space travel, or
whatever it is, it's knowledge, and knowledge, and it's knowledge that you got over the American people because of whatever reason it might be, that was hidden information, right? So like, it's why, as we mentioned before, and it'll be the last thing we talk about, is like, as we said, the thing that stood out to me the most was the reasoning behind it, to me, that made the most sense, was there's a lot of people that would be in jail. There's a lot of people that would get in trouble. There's a lot of reputations that would be ruined from years past, people who are long gone now, that would be held accountable for covering things up and doing things.
Yeah.
And it's just how it is. And Grush's explanation of there's other things, you just kind of break some eggs. Like I love that reasoning, but it's just not the way the world works, and it's unfortunate, but it leads me back to where we were with the whole thing with Corbell. What the hell does that mean? It's coming.
I don't know.
I don't know what that means, but I don't know.
I really don't know.
This story is long.
Yeah.
It is not over. Long for
no, it can't be. There's too much out. We are too far advanced with technology, with the cameras in our pockets to catch something. I mean, Ring cameras, Ring people are hoping that there's an alien caught on your doorbell footage. They'll give you millions of dollars, whatever it is. The technology is available and will become even more advanced. I believe it will there will be some sort of big thing that happens that we can like kind of look at some footage and be like,
We'll see. I'm feeling if we're on a team, I feel like we lost the game. Now, I don't know if we're going to be able to.
there's no
necessarily-
word yet on this, right? Is it
Not
that it
yet.
was officially passed? Because I'm hoping beyond hope that something does happen. We need this. I don't want to.
But that's what I'm saying. And again, to requote George Knapp for the 8th time, they are better at this than we are at our job. They have been doing it. They will find a way to make sure that this does not get passed. Now, the question is, are there other ways to make sure that disclosure happens? I don't know. But what I will say is this. We've talked about this for quite a while. Riley, I think that one of the things I'd like to do is we do 2 episodes on Patreon now. So if you want to follow us over there, we're going to do a follow-up. I was thinking that maybe me and you, or at least I could, and then I could discuss with you on Patreon. I'm going to watch, we taped this before Jeremy Corbell's show comes out, and I'm sure they're going to go into this in depth. And by the time our episode comes out, their episode will already be out. We won't really have talked about what they talked about, but on Patreon we could. So I was thinking maybe I'll watch that and then we can talk about that on Patreon.
I'd like to watch it too. Sure.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Let's do that.
All right. So if you want to join us over on Patreon, we'll be there. Patreon.com/The Big Thing Show. Make sure you head on over. The links in the description is the first thing you'll see. If you want to join over, you can join us for the extra episode. But please leave your comments. Please put it. Have the conversation as you have been. Mark, where can the people find you?
Find me on the internet at Riley Around, REILLY Around. See you there.
All right, guys. For me, obviously, you can find me Kristian Harloff or at the Big Thing Show on Twitter. And yeah, like I said, hit that button, man. We're trying to get to 200,000. Every time you guys find this show, especially this the newer audience we found from the people who want to know answers on this stuff, please be a part of it. We're going to be talking about this stuff every Tuesday, and we want you guys here too. So subscribe to the channel. If you're able to, you have the means to, and you can support us. Please do so by going to one of our wonderful sponsors and getting them, because that'll help tremendously. Thank you for myself and Mark Riley. We'll see you either on Patreon in the next couple of days, or we'll see you next Tuesday. Thanks for joining us. Bye-bye.